Draconis blood drips from Eric Turner's knuckles as he stalks away from the blazing ruins of their outpost, leaving only broken scales and shattered pride in his wake. The humans didn't start this war, but by God they were going to finish it. I still can't believe it, Vola begins, shaking his head, as he and fellow soldier Zane recover in a medical bay on the Draconis homeworld. Vola nurses a broken arm, covered in bruises. Zane has a bandaged eye and missing tooth. We thought the humans would be easy targets, just another primitive species for the Draconis Empire to conquer and absorb. Zane chuckles ruefully. We provoked them all right, and they made us regret it faster than a Zorgon spits acid. It all started when our scout ships found that small human colony on our territory's edge. Commander Krax saw a chance to test their defenses and show our dominance. More like stroke his own ego, Vola snorts. Krax was always itching for a fight, even against unknown enemies. So he ordered a squadron of our finest warriors to raid the colony, capture some humans, destroy their infrastructure, leave a clear message: don't trifle with the Draconis. Zane leans forward. I heard the raid was led by Eric Turner himself. They say he's a one-man army, a warrior without equal. Volar nods grimly, and we were about to find out just how true those stories were. If Turner and his fighters crush our raid, the Draconis invasion of human space is over before it begins. Our empire's expansion depends on this attack's success. But if the humans defeat us here, our forces will fall back in disgrace. Krax's superiors will have his head. The humans will unite against our empire, costing us thousands of warriors and hundreds of ships to hold what we've taken. For the glory of the Draconis, we cannot allow that to happen. Zayan shakes his head in disbelief. So let me get this straight. One human took down half of an elite Draconis squadron with his bare hands without a scratch on him? Zane leans back, processing the incredible tale. What happened next? Did you manage to subdue him? Vola lets out a humorless laugh, then coughs as his ribs protest. Subdue him? Zine, we were lucky to escape with our lives. After he took down half of our squad, Krax ordered us to fall back. We had to practically drag our wounded to the ships. And Turner, he just stood there watching us flee like the cowards we were. Zion's brow furrows. But surely once you regrouped and called for reinforcements... Vola cuts him off with a sharp gesture. There were no reinforcements, Zane. Krax was too proud to admit that we'd been bested by a single human. He reported back to command that the colony was too well defended, that we needed to re-strategize. But the truth? Turner had sent a message loud and clear. The humans wouldn't be conquered so easily. Zane sits back, stunned. I can't believe it. One man standing against an empire and winning. Volar nods, his expression grim. Believe it, because if there are more like Eric Turner out there, if the humans decide to push back against the Draconis, we don't stand a chance. And that's a truth that Krax and the rest of the High Command need to realize before it's too late. Zane falls silent, the weight of Vola's words sinking in. The Draconis had always believed themselves to be the superior species, destined to rule the galaxy. But now, faced with the indomitable will and strength of a single human, that belief had been shaken to its core. Zayan leans back in his chair, his mind reeling from the implications of Vola's words. I can't believe it, he murmurs, his voice tinged with a mix of awe and fear. The humans, they're not like anything we've ever faced before. Volar nods, his expression grim. And that's what worries me. Krax is underestimating them. He thinks that with enough firepower, enough warriors, we can crush them like any other species. But he's wrong. Zane frowns, his brow furrowing. What do you mean? Volar leans forward, his voice low and urgent. Think about it, Zane. The humans, they're not fighting for glory or conquest. They're fighting for their very survival. And when a species is backed into a corner like that, when they're fighting for everything they hold dear, they become unpredictable, dangerous. Zane's eyes widen as the realization dawns on him. You're saying that the more we push them, the harder they'll fight back. Volar nods. Exactly, and if we're not careful, if we underestimate them like Krax is doing, we could be walking into a war that we're not prepared for. Zayn shakes his head, his expression troubled. But what can we do? Krax is our commander. We can't just go against his orders. Volar sighs, leaning back in his chair. I know, but maybe we can try to make him see reason. Make him understand that this isn't just another conquest, that the humans are different. Zane snorts. Good luck with that. You know how Krax is. Once he's set his mind on something, there's no changing it. Volar nods, his expression resigned. I know, but we have to try, because if we don't, if we go into this war thinking that the humans are just another primitive species to be conquered, we're going to be in for a rude awakening. Zain falls silent, the weight of Volar's words hanging heavy in the air. The Draconis Empire had always prided itself on its military might, on its ability to conquer and assimilate any species that stood in its way. But now, faced with the prospect of a war against an enemy that defied all their expectations, that challenged everything they thought they knew, the future had never seemed so uncertain. Volar leans back against the medical bay wall, his brow furrowed. I've heard those stories too. Always thought they were just exaggerations, tall tales passed around by species who were jealous of the Draconis' power. He shakes his head. But after today, I'm starting to wonder if there's more truth to them than we ever wanted to believe. Zane nods, his expression grave. And if the humans really can adapt and evolve as quickly as they say, if they can take our technology and turn it against us, he lets the thought hang in the air, the implications clear. Volar's mind races, picturing the scene from the colony. The way Turner had moved, the raw strength and speed he'd displayed, it was like nothing Volar had ever seen before, not in all his years of conquering and subjugating other species. That hidden strength you mentioned, Volar says slowly, I think I saw a glimpse of it today. The way Turner fought, it wasn't just physical prowess. It was like he was tapping into some kind of inner reserve, a well of determination and willpower that we've never encountered before. Zain shivers, rubbing his arms as if warding off a sudden chill. And if every human has that kind of potential, that kind of unbreakable spirit, then we may be in for a fight that we're not prepared for. Volar pushes himself up straighter, ignoring the protests of his battered body. We need to warn the others, he says, his voice urgent. Krax, the High Command, everyone, they need to know what we're really up against. Zain nods, his expression hardening with resolve. You're right. We can't let pride or arrogance blind us to the truth. The humans, they're not just another species to be conquered. They're a threat, maybe the greatest one our empire has ever faced. Volar takes a deep breath, his mind already racing with the implications of what they've discovered. Then let's not waste any more time. We need to get this information to the right people before it's too late. Zane stands wincing as his injured leg takes his weight. I'm with you. We'll make them listen one way or another. The future of the Draconis Empire may depend on it. As they limp towards the door, Volar can't shake the feeling that they're on the brink of something momentous, a turning point in the history of their species, a crossroads that will determine the fate of the galaxy itself. And at the center of it all, one human, Eric Turner, the man who had stood alone against an empire and shown them the true meaning of courage and defiance. Krax turns on his heel and storms out of the medical bay, leaving a heavy silence in his wake. Volar and Zane exchange a long, weighted look, the gravity of their situation sinking in. Zane breaks the silence first, his voice low and cautious. He's not going to listen, is he? Krax, I mean. He's too proud, too set in his ways. Volar shakes his head, a grim expression etched on his face. No, he's not. He's convinced that the Draconis are invincible, that no species could ever pose a real threat to us, especially not the humans. But we know better, Zane insists, leaning forward. We've seen what they're capable of if Krax leads us into another battle unprepared. It could be a slaughter, Volar finishes, his voice heavy. Our warriors, our ship, we could lose everything, and all because Krax is too stubborn to see the truth. Zacian runs a hand over his face, wincing as his fingers brush against his bandaged eye. What do we do, Volar? We can't just sit back and let this happen. Volar is silent for a long moment, his gaze distant. We have to find a way to make Crax see reason, to make him understand that the humans aren't just another conquest, another notch in the Draconis Empire's belt. They're a real threat, and if we don't treat them as such, we'll be the ones who pay the price, Zane says softly, his voice tinged with fear. Volar nods, his expression hardening with resolve. We need proof, something concrete, something that even Crax can't ignore. If we can show him just how powerful the humans are, just how much we've underestimated them, maybe we can convince him to change his strategy, Zane finishes, a glimmer of hope in his eye. To approach the humans with caution, rather than arrogance. Volar pushes himself to his feet, ignoring the pain that lances through his body. It won't be easy. Crax is as stubborn as a Gorgax with a bone, but we have to try. For the sake of the Draconis, for the sake of our empire, we have to make him see the truth. Zane stands as well, his posture straightening with determination. Then let's get started. We'll talk to the other warriors, gather whatever evidence we can. Recordings from the battle, eyewitness accounts, anything that can prove just how strong the humans really are. Volar nods, a fierce light in his eyes. And when we have it, we'll take it straight to Crax. We'll make him listen, even if we have to tie him down and force him to watch. Zane manages a small smile, despite the gravity of their situation. I never thought I'd say this, but I'm glad you're on our side, Volar. If anyone can make Crax see reason, it's you. Volar clasps Zane's shoulder, his grip firm and reassuring. We're in this together, Zane, for the Draconis, for our people. We won't let them down. With that, the two warriors limp out of the medical bay, their minds set on their new mission. They know the road ahead will be difficult, that they'll face opposition and ridicule from their fellow warriors, but they also know that the stakes are too high to ignore, that the very future of their empire hangs in the balance. The heavy silence left in Commander Crax's wake presses down on Volar and Zane like a physical weight. Zane's words hang in the air between them, a grim prophecy of the fate that awaits them if they continue down this path. Volar rubs his temples, his brow furrowed in thought. Turner is a formidable warrior, no doubt about that, but reaching out to him directly? It's a huge risk. Zane leans forward, his voice low and urgent. I know it's dangerous, but think about it, Volar. Turner is the key. He's the one who stood against us, who sent that message. If anyone can understand the need for peace, it's him. Volar sighs, his shoulders sagging under the weight of the decision before them. And what if he doesn't? What if he sees our attempt at contact as a trick, a trap? We could be walking straight into an ambush. Zane shakes his head. I don't think so. From what I saw, Turner is a man of honor. He fights for his people, for what he believes in. If we approach him openly, with sincere intentions, I think he'll listen. Volar is silent for a long moment, his gaze distant as he weighs the options before them. Finally he nods, a slow, deliberate motion. All right, we'll do it your way. But we need to be smart about this. We can't just go charging in without a plan. Zane's face splits into a grin, relief and excitement mingling in his expression. Of course, we'll need to gather intel, find out everything we can about human culture and customs, and we'll need to be discreet. If word of this gets back to Crax... Volar holds up a hand, cutting him off. I know. We'll be careful. We'll work in secret, gather only the most trusted members of our squad, and when the time is right, we'll make our move. Zane nods, his eyes gleaming with determination. This could change everything, Volar. If we can broker a peace with the humans, it could save countless lives on both sides. Volar takes a deep breath, his gaze hardening with resolve. Then let's get to work. We have a lot of ground to cover, and not a lot of time to do it in. But if we can pull this off, it could be the most important thing we ever do. The two warriors clasp forearms, a gesture of solidarity and shared purpose. They know the road ahead will be fraught with danger, that they'll be risking everything for the chance at peace. But as they look into each other's eyes, they see a glimmer of hope, a chance for a future beyond the endless cycle of war and conquest. And so, with heavy hearts and determined spirits, Volar and Zane begin to plan, to plot, to scheme. They know that the fate of their species, and perhaps the fate of the galaxy itself, rests on their shoulders. But they also know that they're not alone. Somewhere out there, a human named Eric Turner is waiting, a symbol of the strength and resilience of his people. And if they can find a way to reach him, to bridge the gap between their two species, well, then anything is possible, even peace, even hope, even a future where Draconis and humans stand side by side, united in common purpose. It's a distant dream, a fragile hope, but as Vola and Zane huddle together in the shadows of the medical bay, they can't help but feel a flicker of optimism, a sense that maybe, just maybe, they're on the cusp of something great. Something that could change the course of history itself. Vola's hands tremble slightly as he sets down the communicator, the weight of what they've just done settling heavily on his shoulders. Zane paces the room, his brow furrowed with worry. "I can't believe he agreed to meet with us," Zane mutters, his voice a mix of awe and trepidation. "After everything that's happened, I thought for sure he'd refuse." Vola nods, leaning back against the wall. "I had my doubts too, but Turner seems to be a reasonable man. He understands the gravity of the situation." Vola shakes his head. "I don't think so. You heard him, Zane. He's cautious, but he's willing to listen. That's more than we could have hoped for." Zane sighs, rubbing his temples. "I just hope we're doing the right thing. If Krax finds out—" "He won't," Vola says firmly. "We've taken every precaution, and even if he does, it'll be too late. Once we meet with Turner and his team, once we start the process of negotiation, Krax won't be able to stop it." Zane nods, but the worry doesn't leave his eyes. "I hope you're right, Vola, because if this doesn't work, if we can't find a way to make peace—" "It will work," Vola insists, pushing himself off the wall. "It has to. The alternative is too horrific to consider." Zane is silent for a moment, then nods. "You're right. We've come too far to turn back now. We have to see this through, no matter the cost." Vola clasps Zane's shoulder, a gesture of solidarity and support. "We'll do this together, Zane, for the sake of our people and for the sake of the humans. We'll find a way to make this right." As they stand there in the secluded corner of the ship, the weight of their actions hanging heavy in the air, Vola and Zane know that they've taken the first step on a long and dangerous path. But it's a path they know they must walk, for the sake of their species and for the sake of the galaxy itself. The next few days are a flurry of activity as Vola and Zane make their preparations for the meeting with Turner and his team. They pore over star maps, looking for a neutral location far from the prying eyes of their superiors. They gather what information they can on human customs and protocols, wanting to ensure that they don't inadvertently offend or alienate their potential allies. But even as they work, the fear of discovery hangs over them like a dark cloud. They jump at every sound, every footstep outside their quarters, terrified that Krax or one of his loyalists will burst in and expose their treachery. "We're taking a huge risk," Zane whispers one night as they huddle over a datapad. "If we're caught—" "We won't be," Vola says, but even he can hear the uncertainty in his voice. "We've come too far to turn back now." Zane nods, but the worry doesn't leave his eyes. "I just hope Turner is true to his word. If he betrays us—" "He won't," Vola says firmly. "I saw the look in his eyes when we spoke. He wants this war to end just as much as we do." Zane sighs, leaning back in his chair. "I hope you're right, Vola, because if this meeting goes wrong, if Turner and his team turn on us—" "They won't," Vola insists. "We have to trust them, Zane. We have to trust that they want peace as much as we do." But even as he says the words, Vola can feel the doubt creeping in. They're taking a leap of faith, trusting in the goodwill of a species they barely understand. If they're wrong, if Turner and his team have ulterior motives— Vola pushes the thought away. They can't afford to think like that. They have to believe that peace is possible, that there's a way to end this conflict without more bloodshed. As the day of the meeting draws closer, Vola and Zane's nerves are stretched to the breaking point. They've done all they can to prepare, but there are still so many unknowns, so many things that could go wrong. "Are you ready for this?" Zane asks as they make their final preparations. There's no turning back once we leave the ship. Volar takes a deep breath, trying to steady his racing heart. I'm ready, he says, hoping that his voice doesn't betray his fear. We have to do this, Zine, for the sake of our people and for the sake of the galaxy. Zine nods, his expression grim. Then let's go. Let's meet with Turner and his team and find a way to end this war before it begins. Volar and Zane stand beneath the twin suns of the neutral planet, their hearts pounding as they watch the human ship descend. The vessel touches down with a soft thud, kicking up a cloud of red dust that swirls around their feet. Zane shifts his weight from foot to foot, his hands clenching and unclenching at his sides. I don't like this, Volar. We're taking a huge risk, meeting with them like this. Volar nods, his own nerves thrumming beneath his skin. I know, but we have to try. The alternative is too terrible to consider. The ship's hatch hisses open, and 3 figures emerge silhouetted against the bright sunlight. As they approach, Volar recognizes the tall, broad-shouldered form of Eric Turner, flanked by 2 other humans, a man and a woman, their faces set in grim lines. Turner stops a few paces away, his piercing blue eyes scanning Volar and Zane with a mixture of caution and curiosity. You wanted to talk, so talk. Volar steps forward, his heart in his throat. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us, Eric Turner. I know it couldn't have been an easy decision after what happened at the colony. Turner's jaw tightens, but he nods. No, it wasn't, but I'm willing to listen, for the sake of preventing more bloodshed. Volar takes a deep breath, choosing his words carefully. We've seen firsthand the strength and determination of your people, the way you fought back against our attack, the way you refused to surrender even in the face of overwhelming odds. It's unlike anything we've ever encountered. The female human speaks up, her voice sharp. And that surprises you? That we would defend our homes, our families? Volar shakes his head. No, of course not. But it made us realize that if this conflict escalates, if it turns into a full-scale war, the losses on both sides will be catastrophic. Turner folds his arms across his chest. And what about your commander, Krax? From what I've seen, he's not exactly the type to back down. Zane steps forward, his voice earnest. Krax is blinded by his own arrogance. He refuses to see the truth, even when it's staring him in the face. But there are others among our people, like us, who believe that peace is the only way forward. The other male human, the one with the piercing eyes, snorts. And how do we know you're not just a vocal minority? That the rest of your kind won't just follow Krax's lead? Volar meets his gaze, unflinching. We're not naive. We know that convincing our people to seek peace won't be easy, but we have to start somewhere. And we believe that if we can show them that coexistence is possible, that you're not the monsters Krax makes you out to be, then maybe we have a chance. Maybe we... Turner is silent for a long moment, his brow furrowed in thought. Finally he speaks, his voice heavy. I won't lie to you. There are many among my people who want revenge for your attack, who believe that the only way to ensure our safety is to wipe your species out entirely. Volar feels a chill run down his spine, but he forces himself to remain steady. And what do you believe, Eric Turner? Turner sighs, running a hand through his short dark hair. I've seen too much war, too much death. If there's a chance for peace, I'm willing to take it. He extends his hand, a human gesture of agreement. But know this, if you betray us, if this is some kind of trick, there will be no mercy. We will fight to our last breath to protect what's ours. As their hands clasp together, a flicker of hope sparks between them. A fragile, tentative hope, but a hope nonetheless. A hope that maybe, just maybe, they can find a way to bridge the gap between their species, to forge a path towards a future of coexistence and understanding. The road ahead will be long and fraught with challenges, Volar knows, but as he looks into Eric Turner's eyes, he sees a glimmer of the same determination that had so impressed him on the battlefield. And he knows that if anyone can help them navigate the treacherous waters ahead, it's this human, this warrior who had shown them the true meaning of strength and courage. Zine clears his throat, breaking the silence that had fallen over the group. So what now? How do we proceed? Turner releases Volar's hand, his expression thoughtful. We start small. build trust between our peoples one step at a time, show them that we're not so different, that we all want the same things: peace, security, a future for our children. Volar nods, his mind already racing with possibilities. We could start with cultural exchanges, perhaps, learn more about each other's ways of life, find common ground. The female human speaks up, her tone cautious but not hostile. And what about your military? How can we be sure they won't just attack us again, even if we do manage to build some kind of relationship? Zayn meets her gaze, his expression somber. We'll need to work from within, to convince our leaders that peace is in everyone's best interests. It won't be easy, but we're prepared to do whatever it takes. Turner nods, a glimmer of respect in his eyes. I appreciate your commitment to this. I know it can't be easy going against your own kind. Volar shakes his head. No, it's not, but it's necessary. We cannot continue down this path of violence and destruction, not if we want our species to survive. The other male human, the one with the piercing eyes, speaks up, his voice gruff. And what about Krax? What do we do about him? Volar exchanges a glance with Zayn, a silent communication passing between them. Leave Krax to us. We'll find a way to deal with him, to make him see reason, or to remove him from power if necessary. Turner raises an eyebrow, a hint of a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. You've got guts, I'll give you that, but be careful. Men like Krax, they don't go down without a fight. As the suns begin to set over the dusty horizon, the small group of humans and Draconis continue to talk, to plan, to lay the groundwork for a future that had seemed impossible mere days before. It will be a long and difficult road, they know, fraught with danger and uncertainty. But as Volar looks around at the faces of his new allies, at the determination and hope that shines in their eyes, he feels a flicker of something he hasn't felt in a long time. Hope. Hope for a future where their species can coexist in peace, where the endless cycle of war and death can finally be broken. Here's a fragile hope, a tenuous one, but it's a start. The communication device goes silent, the weight of Turner's words hanging heavy in the air. Volar and Zayn exchange a long, meaningful look, the gravity of their situation sinking in. Zayn breaks the silence first, his voice low and urgent. Volar, if Krax has found out about our meetings with the humans, then we don't have much time. He'll be coming for us. Zayn begins to pace, his mind racing. But how do we do it? How do we gather evidence against Krax without tipping him off? Volar thinks for a moment, then snaps his fingers. The communication logs. If we can access Krax's personal logs, there's a chance we might find something incriminating, something that proves he's been lying to our people. Zayn stops pacing, turning to face Volar. But those logs will be heavily encrypted, and accessing them without authorization is a serious crime. If we're caught... Volar meets Zayn's gaze, his eyes burning with determination. We have to try, Zayn, for the sake of our people, for the sake of the future we're trying to build. We knew the risks when we started down this path. Zayn takes a deep breath, then nods. You're right. We've come too far to turn back now, but we need to be smart about this. We can't just go charging into Krax's quarters and start hacking into his files. Volar nods, his mind already working on a plan. We'll need to be discreet, wait for an opportunity when Krax is away from his quarters, then slip in undetected. If we can download the logs onto a portable drive, we can analyze them later in a secure location. Zayn's brow furrows. And what about the allies Turner mentioned? The ones who have been working in secret to support the peace movement? Should we try to make contact with them? Volar considers this for a moment. It's risky. We don't know who they are or how deep their network goes. If we reach out to the wrong person, it could blow our cover. Volar clasps Zayn's shoulder, a gesture of solidarity and support. We can do this, Zayn. We have to. The future of our species, and the future of the humans, depends on it. Zayn takes a deep breath, steeling himself for the task ahead. Then let's get to work. We'll need to map out Krax's schedule, find the gaps where we can slip in and out unnoticed. It won't be easy, but nothing worth doing ever is. As they begin to plan and strategize, Volar can feel a sense of purpose settling over him, a clarity of focus that he's never experienced before. He knows the road ahead will be fraught with danger and uncertainty, that they'll be risking everything for the chance at peace. But he also knows that it's a risk worth taking. For too long, the Draconis have been locked in a cycle of conquest and destruction, never questioning the orders of their superiors. But now, with the help of the humans and the allies within their own ranks, they have a chance to break that cycle, to forge a new path forward. It won't be easy, Volar knows. Krax and his loyalists will fight them every step of the way, will brand them as traitors and enemies of the state. But Volar also knows that they're fighting for something bigger than themselves, something that transcends the narrow confines of their own species. They're fighting for a future where Draconis and human can stand side by side, united in common purpose. A future where war and conflict are a distant memory, where the endless expanse of the galaxy is a place of wonder and discovery, not a battlefield to be conquered. And so, with renewed determination, Volar and Zane set to work, their minds focused on the task at hand. They know the risks they're taking, the dangers they're facing, but they also know that the alternative, a war that could destroy both their species, is too terrible to contemplate. They'll do whatever it takes, Volar vows, to make sure that future never comes to pass. No matter the cost, no matter the sacrifice, they'll find a way to make peace a reality, even if it means risking everything they've ever known. Volar winces as he shifts his weight, the wounds from the final battle still fresh. Zane sits heavily beside him, his face a mask of exhaustion and grief. The once bustling ship feels empty now, the weight of the losses hanging in the air like a thick fog. "I keep thinking about that last push," Zane says quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. The way the humans charged forward, even as our weapons tore through their ranks. They knew they were outmatched, but they didn't hesitate. Volar nods, the memory of the screams and the smell of burning flesh still vivid in his mind. They fought with a ferocity I've never seen before. It was like they were possessed, driven by something beyond mere survival. Zane rubs his face, his hands trembling slightly. And the things they did, I never thought I'd see the day when humans would resort to such tactics. The bioweapons, the attacks on our civilian targets. Volar feels a surge of anger and sorrow rising in his chest. They were desperate, Zane. We backed them into a corner and they did what they had to do to survive, just like we would have done if the roles were reversed. Zane is silent for a long moment, his gaze fixed on the floor. I know. But it doesn't make it any easier to accept. The loss of life, the destruction. It's almost too much to bear. Volar reaches out and places a hand on Zane's shoulder, a gesture of comfort and solidarity. We all bear that weight now, my friend. The burden of the choices we made, the lives we took, but we can't let it crush us. We have to find a way to move forward, to build something better from the ashes of this war. Zane looks up, his eyes shimmering with unshed tears. But how? How do we even begin to heal the wounds we've inflicted on each other? The scars run so deep. Volar takes a deep breath, his mind racing with the enormity of the task ahead. It won't be easy. There will be setbacks, moments when it feels like all hope is lost. But we have to keep trying, keep pushing forward, because the alternative is too terrible to consider. He looks out the window at the stars glimmering in the endless expanse of space. The humans taught us a hard lesson, Zane. They showed us the price of arrogance, of underestimating a species just because they're different from us. We can't make that mistake again. Zane nods, a flicker of determination sparking in his eyes. You're right. We have to be better, to strive for understanding instead of conquest. It's the only way to ensure that the sacrifices on both sides weren't in vain. Volar feels a sense of purpose settling over him, a clarity of vision that had eluded him for so long. Then that's what we'll do. We'll work to build bridges, to forge alliances based on mutual respect and cooperation. It won't be easy, and there will be those who resist us at every turn. But we have to try, for the sake of our species and for the memory of those we lost. Zane stands, his posture straightening with resolve. I'm with you, Volar. No matter what happens, we'll face it together, for the future and for the hope of a better tomorrow. As they stand there, two battered warriors bound by the weight of their experiences, Vola feels a glimmer of hope amidst the sorrow. The road ahead is long and uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, he believes that peace is possible. That a future where Draconis and humans stand side by side, united in common purpose, is within reach. It won't be easy, and there will be moments when the darkness threatens to overwhelm them. But they will keep fighting, keep pushing forward, one step at a time, for the sake of their species, for the memory of those lost, and for the hope of a better tomorrow. Volar turns to Zane, a fierce light burning in his eyes. "We have work to do, my friend. Let's get started." You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.